No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. In a world full of distractions, instant gratification, and constant pursuit of pleasure, we often forget what truly brings meaning and peace. What if I told you that the Stoics believe that virtue, not pleasure, is the key to a good life? Today, we're diving into one of the most profound Stoic principles: virtue over pleasure. If you've ever felt like chasing pleasure leaves you empty, or that you're constantly seeking something more, then stick around. This might just change your perspective. What does virtue over pleasure mean? When we think about pleasure, we usually imagine comfort, luxury, or indulgence. But Stoic virtue is about something deeper, something lasting. For the Stoics, virtue is not just about doing what is right. It's about living in accordance with nature, with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Qualities that help us become the best version of ourselves. On the other hand, pleasure is fleeting. It's the sugar rush. It feels good in the moment, but once it fades, we're left feeling empty, needing more. Think of it like this: pleasure is like a bubble. It appears beautiful and shiny, but it pops quickly, leaving you with nothing. Virtue, however, is like a tree. It's rooted. It grows over time, and even when storms come, it stands strong. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Epictetus. This is why the Stoics emphasize virtue over pleasure. It's not that pleasure is bad. It's just that virtue lasts while pleasure is temporary. Why choose virtue over pleasure? Here's a simple truth: pleasure cannot bring lasting happiness. Take a moment and think about a time when you indulged in something you thought would make you happy. A new purchase, a great meal, a night out with friends. In the moment, it felt wonderful, right? But what happened after? The pleasure faded, and the happiness left with it. Suddenly, you're back to chasing the next fix. The Stoics teach that true happiness comes from living a life rooted in virtue. A life that is whole, consistent, and meaningful. Seneca put it this way: it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more. That is poor. Virtue, on the other hand, doesn't fade. It grows within you. It's like planting seeds in your soul. The more you nurture them, the stronger and more fulfilling they become. When you choose virtue over pleasure, you're choosing peace over the fleeting highs of instant gratification. You're choosing purpose over emptiness. How to practice virtue over pleasure. So, how do we live this principle out in our everyday lives? How do we shift our focus from temporary pleasures to lasting virtue? Here are 5 Stoic practices to help you embrace virtue over pleasure. Prioritize long-term goals over short-term satisfaction. When faced with a decision, ask yourself, which option leads to my greater good in the long run? Pleasure often tempts us in the moment, but virtue guides us toward what will serve us better over time. Think about how you spend your money, your time, and your energy. Is it spent on things that bring lasting value? Or do you choose what feels good right now? If you choose a quick treat over hard work or discipline, the pleasure will pass, but the effort you invested will carry on. Ask yourself, am I choosing what feels good now or what helps me grow in the future? Practice temperance. Temperance means moderation, knowing when to say enough and avoiding overindulgence. Pleasure becomes harmful when we overdo it, eating that extra piece of cake, scrolling through social media endlessly, or buying things we don't need. All these are examples of letting pleasure take the lead. The Stoics suggest that true freedom comes from restraint. When you practice temperance, you gain control over your impulses, and you start living according to your values, not your immediate desires. Ask yourself, is this choice bringing me closer to my true self or just momentary pleasure? Focus on internal fulfillment. It's easy to get caught up in external success, the promotions, the recognition, the material possessions. But these are just external markers of happiness. True fulfillment, according to the Stoics, comes from within. Virtue, wisdom, and peace don't need to be earned externally. They come from the work you do on your inner world. When you're focused on your inner growth, external achievements become secondary. You no longer depend on the world to make you happy because you've already found contentment in who you are. Ask yourself, am I seeking approval from others, or am I content with my own progress? Live according to your nature. Stoicism teaches that to live a good life, we must live according to nature, meaning we must align our actions with reason and virtue. If you're living according to your nature, your choices will align with your higher purpose. You'll naturally prefer the good, the right, and the noble over the easy or indulgent. This is a powerful shift. Instead of following the current of society, you start paddling in the direction of authentic self-growth. Ask yourself, am I living in alignment with my best self or just going with the flow? Cultivate wisdom and self-reflection. Virtue is a path of constant growth. It requires daily practice, and that means self-reflection. Each day, take a moment to look back and ask, did I act in a way that reflects my best self today? By reflecting on your actions and choices, you learn where you strayed from virtue and where you've embraced it. Over time, this helps you grow into a person who doesn't crave fleeting pleasures but seeks lasting happiness through a virtuous life. Virtue is the true source of happiness, not the quick rush of pleasure. When you choose virtue, you choose a life of depth, purpose, and lasting contentment. As the Stoics remind us, the pleasures of the world are like fleeting shadows. They come and go, but the pursuit of virtue is like the light of the sun, always present, always growing. So, I challenge you today, choose virtue over pleasure. Choose the path that leads to your true self, not the one that offers momentary distractions. If you found this helpful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more Stoic wisdom. And drop a comment below. What's one virtue you want to cultivate more in your life? Until next time, stay grounded, stay true to yourself, and always remember, no man is free who is not master of himself.